Alright, what's going on, guys? I am bringing you the long-awaited top 10 overall players in Advanced Warfare. Literally been getting requests for this for like the last 2 months. I've been saying I'm gonna do it after champs, because that's kind of the peak of the Call of Duty season, in my opinion at least. That's what everyone, trains for, practices for. And once that happens, it kind of starts to, stabilize at this point and then start to go downhill in a few more months up until the next Call of Duty, obviously. So anyways, I want to make it very clear that this is not a current list. This is a, well, maybe that was a bad way of explaining it. This is a lifetime achievement award, I guess, type of thing. So what I mean by that is I'm taking, well, not lifetime, I guess, well, AW lifetime. I'm taking the first day of Advanced Warfare's release all the way up until today to make these rankings. I'm not basing them just off champs or just off, certain events or whatever. This is like an entire lifetime of AW achievement award to get these rankings. Also, I'll bust out a quick top 5 from champs only, just based off what I thought were like the top 5 individual performances at champs. And I think that's pretty much all I need to say from the intro. I spent a lot of goddamn time on this, man. You guys will see when I do the actual top 10. I went through and I wrote down all the stats from the top 10 players I thought, put them by event, and then averaged them as well. So I put quite a bit of effort into this for you guys. So if you guys drop a like, that would be much appreciated. And also, pause the video right now and leave me your top 10. I don't want to influence your top 10. So leave me your top 10 or top 5 players in Advanced Warfare before listening to mine, so I don't influence you, because I want to hear unbiased opinions. So do that real quick if you care, and we'll see how ours compare. So I mean, let's get into it, man. Okay, so for my top 5 performances from Call of Duty champs, keep in mind it's only based off champs performance. Number 5, I got Saints. I felt like he really carried Envy. I feel like this number 5 spot could have gone to Karma or Saints or Apathy. All 3 of those players carried the fuck out of their team, but I gave it to Saints. He really impressed me with that ON series. The number 4 spot, I'm giving it to Aqua. Insane performance Saturday and Sunday from him, from TR. The whole TR team as a whole, but I think Aqua kind of stood out to me. Number 3, Attach. I don't even need to say anything. He literally right there with Clayster with the top 2 performances, I think, of the weekend, and they won the event, so that adds up to it. Number 2, Scump. Put OG on his back, and that's saying a lot considering who's on that OG roster. You guys obviously saw my post-analysis thoughts video yesterday, so I kind of explained it there. And number 1, I feel like everyone knows, the MVP of the tournament, Clayster, put on an amazing performance and well-deserved of that MVP and this number 1 spot. So that's my top 5 from champs. Now let us get into the top 10 overall in Advanced Warfare. Also, I'm excluding EU players because I don't watch them enough, and also, they did get shit on at champs for the most part, so I don't know how you can exactly reward them for that. And then I'm also excluding Huke, who I believe is probably a top 10 talent, but he barely gets to play in any tournaments and stuff. And I'm excluding TR because they're kind of new. They weren't really doing anything in the beginning of the game, but I do feel like they have some top 10 talent on that team as well, and maybe by the end of the year I'll have some of them in the top 10 as well. I will say this about the top 10. I think the first 7 players I have in here, they are probably in everyone's top 10, and then 8, 9, and 10, and then like 3 or 4 honorable mentions I feel are where people can mix it up, and you guys will probably have a different maybe top 10 than I do. Keep in mind, this is just an opinion, and this is who I think is in the top 10, and I will give it a reasoning for all of that. But let me start with the honorable mentions. This might just upset some people right away. It was hard for me to do this, but I made the decision. So my honorable mentions for top 10 are Apathy, Looney, Zuma, and TP. TP, oh man, if I could tie someone for 10th, I think I'd have to put TP in there. That might just me having that complexity bias, I don't know. But that's my honorable mentions. So let's get into the top 10 now. Number 10, Attach. Now I feel like a lot of people are going to rank him higher because of his, just recent memory. Obviously he went off at COD Champs, that's a big deal. But I'm putting his stats on the screen now. Obviously you can see his stats before COD Champs were pretty average and weren't really anything exceptional. Regionals were pretty good, but other than that, I wouldn't say his stats were anything exceptional. He does have a pretty solid S&D KD. His Slayer's a little low, and his overall KD's pretty good, but obviously you guys see his Champs, he really stepped it up. And I think if he didn't have that performance at Champs, he wouldn't even be in my top 10 right now. So I think the only reason I'm putting in here is because he really stepped it up at the biggest tournament of the year. But overall, if you look at the entire year, he wasn't playing like too amazing up until Champs. Played decent at regionals as well. So Attach at number 10. Number 9, I'm going to have Parasite. The thing about Parasite is he plays for stats. So even though he has really, really good stats, you can see he doesn't have a negative event yet in S&D or territory and respawn KD. That's impressive. But the thing about him is he kind of plays for stats. Like, he'll be the type of player to, like, once you know, like, you're about to, like, lose or something, he'll be the type of player to, like, start camping and trying to go positive and shit. So that's a little thing you gotta, like, watch out for him with his stats. But his stats are really, really good. I think he does have the highest S&D KD average. So that's something to point out as well. But his placements haven't been too amazing till he joined FaZe Red. His prof placements, you know, they were a little shaky. And then FaZe Red had that one bad placement as well. So placements also do play a factor in this, I would say, a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. That's more of a team accomplishment. But his stats, I mean, they speak for themselves. They're really good. He's kind of the OBJ, even though he denies it and he doesn't do it when he's supposed to. But he's actually technically supposed to be the OBJ of FaZe Red. So these are pretty good stats when you consider that as well. Next, we have Slasher. Once again, extremely good stats. And the thing about his stats are, though, is he's primarily an assault rifle player, AR player, so pretty much all AR players have really good stats. That's kind of comes with the territory, so just, you know, take his stats with a grain of salt. But his S&D stats are extremely good as well, so that, you know, that's a +1 right there. And extremely consistent throughout the game from, you know, the first event all the way till champ. Always had a solid KD, always had solid Slayer, solid S&D, so that's a huge thing. Consistency always matters. In my opinion, I think he's probably the third best AR at the moment after Formal and Clay, so he's probably the third best AR, so that's something to, you know, to say for that as well. And I mean, just overall extremely consistent, drops numbers. From this point on is where I feel like the rest of these players are all automatic top 10 players no matter what. And I mean, if you don't have them in, I guess, I mean, you don't have to, but from this point on, I feel like it's really just a debate of who should be in what order. So anyways, number 7, Karma. I'd really love to put him higher, man, but the placements have been so atrocious and he's been a little bit inconsistent, and they didn't even get to play at season 1. You guys see his stats on the screen. Stats are pretty good. His champ stats are really good. You guys already know he steps it up when it matters, but I don't know. I honestly feel like if he had a better team, his stats would just be insane right now. I feel like this team is holding him back to becoming, like, literally he'd be up there with, like, Scump and everyone, but I'm putting him at 7. And, you know, you'll see why when I show you the stats of the players above him. Obviously, he has the potential to literally be number 1. I think he needs to get on a different team, in my opinion. That's all I'll say about that. Now I have Saints at number 6. Pretty much the same situation as Karma. If you look at his stats, they're a little bit better, though. And he also got to play season 1, so a little bit more consistency as well. Beast fucking player. I think he needs a new team as well. From the performance I saw at Envy at Champs, he carried them. Pretty much the exact same thing that Karma has been doing. Literally plays more than anyone else. Probably one of the most consistent players for over the last 2 years, 3 years actually. He was really underrated in Black Ops 2. He's actually really good at Black Ops 2 as well. Just look at the stats. I mean, the stats really just tell it all. If you can have your Slayer above 30 on an average, that's insane to do, because that means you're being aggressive and dropping numbers while having a good KD. There's something to be said for that as well. You know, there's a lot of people that have a good KD, but they're fucking Slayer. Like, for example, Haggy, his Slayer was like 27 or something, but his KD was good, you know, kind of indicating he plays a little slower of a playstyle, whereas Saints is extremely aggressive, so you get, you know, +1 for that. Now we are getting into our top 5. I got Enable at number 5. Probably, I think he might be the most underrated player in the game at the moment. He still hasn't got his credit yet, man. Look at his stats. They're insane. The only thing I'll say about him is his S&D is inconsistent, and I'd say he needs to get better at S&D, but he just does it all. Like, he makes the plays for that team. He's the versatile one on that team. You know, he does whatever that team needs him to do. Started out playing with Justice, moved on to FaZe Red. Felt like he's played a lot better since then. You can see his stats at the beginning were probably a little bit higher because he was carrying that Justice team. If you look at the KDs all the way, extremely consistent for the role that he plays. Like, he doesn't play like a complete, like, Slayer role. He kind of just does whatever needs to be done. So to have stats like that, he plays a similar role to Crim, I would say. You know, he just does whatever. He needs a sub, he pulls it out. He needs an AR, he pulls it out. You know, he just does whatever needs to be done. Now, at number 4, we are going to have Clayster. This might, I don't know, I might just shock some people with this, but if you guys look at the stats, you'll see why I did it. Up until regionals and champs, Clayster was playing at the first event at a below average level. Second and third event, he was playing at an average level. Now at regionals, he's playing at the highest level for the last 2 events. But the thing is, we're not talking about the last 2 events only. We're talking about the entirety of Advanced Warfare. And that first event, man, those stats, oof, I'm just cringing. Look at that. That really brings his placement down. I was thinking real hard about putting him ahead of Crim, but when I looked at compared the 2 stats, I know his last two events really have just boosted his status. Like, I think before the last two events, I wouldn't have even put him in the top 10. And now, you know, I'm putting him at number 4, which is quite an improvement. So, Clay, number 4, he needs to show more consistency. You guys can see he improved drastically as a player. And if he holds this 1.3 average up for, like, the next remainder of AW, if he stays at that level, that's going to put him at top 2 right there with Scump. So, anyways, so Clay, number 4. Now we're going to have number 3, Crim6. I was real hard for me to rank Crim and Formal apart from each other. Statistically, Formal much better, and the reason obviously is because he runs the AR. It's a much easier role. Now the thing about Crim is he plays a lot of OBJ. Statistically, Crim's the OBJ of Optic. He beats Nadeshot in almost every single statistical OBJ category. Now the only thing Nadeshot does probably, if they had a category for hill time of who just fucking sits on the hill, I think Nade would probably win that. But breaking the hill, defending the hill, you know, getting the entry kills, capping CTF flags, getting the uplinks and stuff like that, Crim outranks Nade in every category. So keep that in mind that these stats are literally OBJ stats. But the one thing that I've kind of noticed about Crim in this game is he's pretty inconsistent at S&D, and I don't know why. I think it's just his playstyle. He's pretty aggressive in his S&D playstyle. He tries to always make plays and stuff. And in this game with the movement, that kind of, you know, penalizes him at times. So that's the only thing I want to say about that. But obviously he had a pretty subpar champs performance. These champs performance stats, like, while they look actually pretty decent, they're actually much worse than what you're looking at there, obviously, because that's, you know, increasing it with the pool play. But regardless, Crim, smartest player in the game still, in my opinion. His stats don't do him justice. He does a lot of stuff that you'll never see in stats. Just a lot of plays and a lot of little things here and there that you will never see on a stat sheet. That's why he has worse stats than I think a lot of the people that I ranked below him. But the plays that he makes, man, if you got him on your team, you always got a shot at winning. So that's why Crim, number 3. Number 2, we have Formal. If you look at the stats, extremely consistent all the way through except for one bad S&D event at Orlando, but the KD and the Slayer rating insane all the way through AW, especially the Slayer. That's extremely high, 31. So the only difference between him and Clay is that he's been good since the start of the game, whereas Clay has only gotten good recently, but Clay has gotten much better than Formal recently, statistically wise at least. Actual player wise, they're neck and neck. They each have their advantages and disadvantages, but statistically, Clay's stats recently have just been insane. You guys can see the stats. They're extremely consistent all the way throughout Advanced Warfare, and that's why I gotta give him the number 2 spot. You gotta reward consistency, man. It's real hard to be consistent, and the players that are, you gotta reward them for it. Now, our number 1, everyone at this point, I'm assuming, knows who our number 1 is going to be. Number 1, Optic Scumpy, man. Look at these fucking stats, bro. Highest KD average, highest Slayer average, and second highest S&D KD average behind Parasite. So 1, 1, and 2. I've never seen stats like this in any Call of Duty from a player. This is insane. This is actually insane what he's been doing and how consistently he's been doing it. And this is coming from someone who is, I've fought so hard to not say that he's the best player in the game for so long. I'd say for the last year, he's been the best player in Call of Duty. So for the second half of Call of Duty Ghosts, basically the Vector half, he was the best player. Now the first 6 months or so of AW, he's the best player. So, you know, he's earned it. He's finally earned it. He is undoubtedly the best player in Advanced Warfare. Insane stats. I mean, I don't even need to explain it. If you watched any of the events, you guys already know. And just keep in mind that he's doing this with a submachine gun, not an AR. He has a higher KD than the AR players, man. Just think about how difficult that is, man. Look at the Slayer rating. Think of how many engagements he's getting in, and he's just winning them all. Like, that's fucking insane. Anyways, that's it. That's my top 10. I feel like I did a pretty good job this year, and we're gonna continue this at the end of the year. Also, actually, before I do that, I think I might do a mid-season awards for top 5 on a few categories, like top 5 Slayers. I'm gonna do top 5 ARs. I might do top 5 OBJ, and I don't know if there's any other categories. I might also do my top 10 favorite players. No skill is gonna be taken into account for that ranking, so you guys know, I guess, you know, who I really like as a player and also as a person. That has a lot to do with it as well. But yeah, anyway, so let me know what you think about all those ideas as well, if they're good or not. I mean, other than that, I think that's gonna go ahead and wrap up my top 10 players. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like rating if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not already. Follow me on Twitter. Links in the description down below. Other than that, have a good day and peace out.